सदस्यमान भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Sri Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev, all glories to Samud Vaishnavi devotees, and all glories to our revered speaker, His Grace SALIKA Prabhu, who will be speaking today from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, SALIKA Prabhu needs no introduction.
Sorry, your voice is low. Can you adjust your speaker?
Is it still low?
Still low, but better than before.
Okay, let me see. All right. I'll try to fix it along the line. But
okay.
If you're ready, we'll put the verse on the screen and then you take it over from here.
Okay, let's do it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Narayachaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jaya Udiraye Nastaha Praisu Abhadrisu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhagavati Naistiki. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 7. We are reading text number 40. And we'll spill it over to text number 41. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely eradicated. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 7, text number 40. Vishnu Norvorya Ganatnan Gatamorita Yarpantivani Apikavi Vimanne Irajamsi Yats Kambaya Swarasa Rahasa Kalata Tri Prikshishtam Yasmatri samyat sadanan urukampaya anam. Vishnurno vriya gananam katamori ati a. Ya partivani apikanvi vimame raja amsihi. Shaskambayaswa rahasaskalata triprichitam. Yasmatri samya sadanat urukampaya anaham. Vishnu no vriya gananam katamori atiha. Yad paratihani apikarve vimame rajamshihi. Sakambaya swaras saskalata triprishitaham. Yasmatri samyat sadhana uru kampayanam. Word for word translation. Vishnu, of Lord Vishnu, no but. Vriya, prowess. Gananam, in the matter of accounting. Katama, who else? Ati is able to do it. Iha, in this word. Ya, one who. Partivani, the atoms. Api, also. Karvihi, great scientist. Viname might have counted. Rajamshihi, particles. Shaskambaha could catch. Ya, one who. Swa Ra'asaha, by his own leg. Ash Alataha, without being hampered. Tri Prishtaham, the topmost planetary space. Yasmat, by which. Tri Samyaha, the neutral state of the three modes. Sadhana, up to that place. Urukam Payanam, moving very greatly. Translation, purport by Zivangesh Prabhupada. Who completely the prowess of vision? Even the scientists who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe cannot do so. Because it is he only who, in his form of Trivikrama, moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet, Satyalok, up to the neutral state of the three modes of material nature, and all were moved. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The highest scientific advancement of the material scientist is atomic energy. But the material scientist is not able to have an estimation of the particles of atoms contained in the whole universe. But even if one is able to count such atomic particles, or is able to roll up the sky like one's bedding, even then one is unable to estimate the extent of the prowess and energy of the Supreme Lord. He is known as Trivikrama because once, in his incarnation of Vamana, he expanded his leg beyond the highest planetary system, Satyalok, and reached the neutral state of the modes of nature called the covering of the material world. There are 7 layers of material coverings over the material skies, and the Lord could penetrate even those coverings with his toe. He made a hole through which the water of the casual ocean filters into the material sky, and the current is known as the sacred Ganges, which purifies the planet of the 3 worlds. In other words, no one is equal to the transcendental powerful Vishnu. He is omnipotent, and no one is equal to or greater than him. Because we're reading two verses, although this verse has two purports, so we'll read the text number 41 also, and then we'll try to explain. So text number 41 says, Nantam vidami aham amimunayo griya jastehe maya balasya purusasya kuto vara ayehe gayan gunam dasa satanana adi ideva shesho dunapi samavasyati nasya aparam. Translation: Neither I nor all the sages born before you know fully the omnipotent personality of Godhead. So what can others who are born after us know about him? Even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Shesha, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge. Although he is describing the qualities of the Lord with 10,000, with 1,000 faces. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The omnipotent personality of God has three primary potencies, namely the internal, external, and marginal potency, with unlimited expansions of these three energies. As such, the expansion of his potencies can never be calculated by anyone, because even the personality of God himself, as the incarnation of Shesha, cannot estimate the potencies, although he has been describing them continuously with his 1,000 faces. Hare Krishna. Omagyanam Timirandasya Gyanam Gyanam Shalakaya Shakshumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Pada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganam Ragunatam Tam Sahajivam Sadvitam Sarvadutam Parijanam Sahitam Krishna Shaitanya Adivam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Ladita Sri Vishaka Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapati Gopisha Gopi Kakanta Radhakanta Namostute Tata Kanchana Gurange Radhe Vishabhanu Shuktidevi Pranamani Haripriye Mokankaroti Bachalam Pangam Lagayate Girim Ya Kripat Ambande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Vancha Karpata Ruhu Vyascha Kripas Vyasivascha Patitanam Pa Vaishnavyo Vaishnavyo Namo Nama Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Devishesha Sunyavadi Paksatyadi Satarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Swami Iti Namine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Asishtatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Titi Namine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srinivasari Shri Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Who can describe completely the prowess of vision? Even the scientists, who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe, cannot do so, because it is he only who, in his form of Trivikram, moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet, Satyalok, up to the neutral state of the three modes of material nature, and all were moved. Neither I, Brahma, nor all the sages born before you, Narada, know fully the omnipotent personality of Godhead. So what can others who are born after us know about him? Even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Shesha, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge, although he is described bring the qualities of the Lord with 1,000 faces. Hare Krishna. So dear devotees, we welcome again to the Srimad Bhagavatam discourse for the second day in the month of January, the year 2024. It is a great pleasure to have this honor to render this service on behalf of the Vaishnavas. So before endeavoring to speak, to do this service, I offer my respect to the obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the beginning, middle, and end of everything, and unto the Parampara, who are in the disciplic succession. My obeisances are to all the Vaishnavas who are gathered on this platform, listening to this wonderful narration of the Lord's pastimes. To all who are watching on the other media, social media, I beg that by your mercy, I may be able to do this service for the pleasure of the Lord and his devotees. So we're discussing the continuation of this second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is talking about the scheduled incarnations with specific functions. And they were treating text number 40 and 41, because in our schedule of classes, the 41 and 42 is tied together, although the two tests has purport. So traditionally, we will read one text that has a purport, but by the divine mercy of the Lord, we're given the opportunity to treat these two verses. Even one word within the Srimad Bhagavatam cannot be described fully in one lifetime. What to talk of the old sentence or the old text, or talking about two texts in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But we'll try and endeavor to share some few realization on these two texts. The two texts are statement by Lord Brahma describing the rareness of understanding the nature of the personality of God. In the whole of the three worlds, the most commonly word is God in various semantics or languages. But most interestingly, it is the most difficult or the most distant from human realities of life. According to the Vedic traditions, there are 4 stages of life. Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he told Arjuna that in 7th chapter. He told Arjuna the composition of the nature of the material world, or whatever we can see in the material elements. Bumi apo nalo vayo kam mano budi evacha. Ankara iti yame bina prakiti ashtada. And in the next verse to that verse, he mentioned that apareyam hitas to anyam bina prakiti ashtada, jiva buta mahabaho, yayedam daryape jagat. That earth, water, fire, air, ether, by intelligence, and it constitutes whatever you're experiencing or you can see or feel in the material existence. And beyond that is the living entity, the spirit soul. And in the next verse to that, in text number 6, it's mentioned that practically there is nothing that can be described outside of this. Everything is in within these two energies of his. According to the broader explanation of the Krishna's personality, as stated in the purport to the second verse, it is mentioned that the omnipresent personality of Godhead has three primary potencies, namely the material energy, external energy, and the marginal energy. Now, this marginal energy, the living entities who are embodied, or the living entities who are called marginal living entities, operates basically on 4 different stages of existence. The grossest level of existence of the living entity in the material world is that of the bodily concept of life. At the bodily concept of life, the living entity in whatever species that he finds himself is ignorant. Is operating on the illusory platform. He has no knowledge of anything. So therefore, his activities are covered by speculative endeavor. And that expresses the statement commonly used: man proposes, God disposes. Because they do not know who God is or his creation. So on the bodily platform of life, the living entity activities is just around only 4 basic activities of animalistic life: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. He has no other business. From the beginning to the end of his life, he's only working around these activities. So in other words, he's not better than an animal. He's a glorified 2-legged animal because his activities are not different from that of the living entity in the animal body. Every of his endeavor, life activities, is centered around these 4 basic gross activities of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And when the living entity is a little bit advanced, it comes to the mental state of life, which is the second stage of existence of the living entity in the material body. And when it comes to this mental state of life, it becomes speculative, it becomes a philosopher. Sometimes it becomes a scientist. There are 2 types of scientists. There are spiritual scientists and there are material scientists. At this level, we're talking of material scientists. There are so many of them. And those are the people, the class of persons Srila Prabhupada is describing in the text, in the purport, as mentioned in the text number 40. These scientists, their life experience is geared around whatever they can experience. They have no other realities more than what they can physically experience. There are so many of them. One of the greatest scientist of our modern time is Albert Einstein. And he also expresses this, that whatever cannot be experienced cannot be considered to be real. But Einstein is so advanced that he goes beyond, when one goes beyond the material scientific level, it comes to the third stage or third realm of life. Some material scientists have been able to come to that stage. When we look at scientists like Albert Einstein, in one of his famous quotes, he says that science without religion is lame, and religion without science is blind. And in one of his interviews, he said that God is a mystery, but a comprehensible mystery. I have nothing but awe when I observe the laws of nature. So when one advances at the second stage of human existence from the mental state of life, he stops speculating, it becomes emotional. It operates at the art level. At that time, it becomes appreciative. You start appreciating things beyond the external experience. That is the third stage of existence, or a development of the consciousness of the living entities in the material body. At that state of art level, the living entity, it can perceive, it becomes emotional. He observes things very carefully. It is different from a mental, one who is on the mental state of existence, knowledge, where it only could relate to whatever can be counted, and is trying to deduce conclusion based on that is physical experience. But as it is known, the living condition, living entity in the material world has basic 4 major defects. And because it has 4 defects, whatever it sees is characterized by those 4 defects. Imperfect senses, makes mistake, is illusioned. And because it's illusion, and because it's in ignorance, it tends to want to cheat. So, but when one goes beyond that level of mental stage of existence, it comes to the art state of life, existence, the third realm. It feels emotion like great scientists like Albert. Albert was able to come to that state. So therefore, he realizes that beyond the physical experiential knowledge, there is something misery that is beyond the direct perception of the senses. And he said, although it is mystery, but it is comprehensible. Another great scientist was Leo Tolstoy. Tolstoy says in one of his quotes that the essence of any religion lies solely in the answer to the question, why do I exist? And what is my relationship to the infinite universe that surrounds me? He asked that question, and he says that it is impossible for there to be a person with no religion, without any kind of relationship to the world, as it is for there to be a person without a heart. So Tolstoy says that when one has come to that third stage of existence, the art level, it becomes emotional. He can feel, he starts appreciating things. And at that level, it comes to the state of religiosity. And that you find in various religious traditions, people who have come to this platform, they appreciate God. They know that God exists, but they cannot explain Him. But they have affinity, they have some affection for God, but they cannot relate with God. But they appreciate the personality of God. And when one is able to, after so many lives of existence on that third level of realm of existence, it comes to the highest state of existence. which is what Tolstoy was talking about here. He starts asking about subject matter of the soul. And when one comes to the soul level, only then can he comprehend, he can understand the nature of the supreme soul. Because unless you come to this soul level, you cannot understand the super soul. So when we read the text of today, so Brahma is mentioning here that who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu, the supreme personality of God and Krishna? Who can? Unless one comes to that stage, that level of the soul level, where he's able to perceive the self, it's not possible. Even if one has practiced religion, even one has practiced some sadhana in any tradition, it is impossible for one to comprehend. So Lord Brahma, he expresses that in the Brahma Samhita himself. In this Brahma Samhita 533, he says that Advaitam Achyutam Anandim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha Vedeshu Dulabam Adulabam Atmabhaktao Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. Lord Brahma, he said that he worshipped the Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unallowed devotion of the soul. When one comes to that soul level, when he comes to that platform of the soul, when he's able to realize that Aham Brahmasmi, only at that time he starts comprehending. And even at that time, full understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not possible. And Lord Brahma is expressing that in this verse 40, that even I, who after so many lives of austerity have come to this stage, I cannot comprehend this nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is impossible. And in the next verse, it's explaining that even Ananta Shesha, who is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with 1,000 faces, is incapable of describing the glory of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because why? The Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be comprehended by any other means than the pure state of devotion of the soul. And Prabhupada is giving, as mentioned in the text number 40, one of the pastimes of the Lord in his when he manifested as Trivikram. When King Bali was a deity who wanted to give charity to the Lord. And looking at the young, small boy, Brahmana, because he's a charitable person, he offered to give him charity. And he was asking that young Brahmana boy, who but is the Lord himself, to take whatever he wants. And it's described here in that Lila, the Lord, by his fruit, just one fruit of his, was able to cross the 7 layers of this material cosmic manifestation, transcending the coverings of the 3 modes of material nature. Because the material nature, the whole of material nature is encapsulated, is covered, is captured under the manifestation of the 3 modes of material nature, as Krishna himself said in the Bhagavad Gita. That this material energy, the whole of the material energy, characterized by the 3 modes of material nature, manifested in the form of 3 modes of material nature. But Trivikram, he penetrated just by 1 foot of it. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is not comprehensible. It's not comprehensible by the intelligence of the intelligent, because he is beyond the perception. It is said in one of the in his Leela that even himself, the supreme personality of God, does not know, because he is an ocean that has no limits. So that supreme personality of God is only understood only by those who have come to the spirit platform or the soul level existence of life. So Lord Krishna told Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 1854 that Brahma Bhuta Prasana Atma na Sushati na Kakshati Samasa Aveshu Bhukteshu Mabhakti Mabhati Param. That unless one comes to the transcendental platform, he cannot cross beyond the dualities of anchoring and lamentation. It is not possible. And towards the conclusion of his knowledge to Arjuna, he told Arjuna, Bhakti Mam, Abhi Janam Ti Yavam Yas Yasmi Tak, Tato Tatwatu Gyatam, Shatita Danantara. But devotion service is said to be very easy by those who are ignorant. Yes, devotion service is very easy, but it's the most difficult. It is difficult for one who does not have the qualification of bhakti. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is nicely explaining that he is omnipotent and no one is equal to or greater than him. His glories are so unlimited that even the greatest of scholars cannot explain. When we look at the activities of this material world, it is so difficult. Yesterday was the first of the year, January, and I was discussing in a forum, someone was asking a question. He was such an intelligent young man, and he asked, so what is the difference between yesterday and today? The day looks like the same thing. Same numbers of hours, but we are calling this New Year. What makes it a New Year? Only a devotee can comprehend what is the purport of the word New Year. Because the materialistic can only see the same thing, but only a devotee can see. And that is why it is difficult for one to understand. Why is it that when the devotees or the pastime, the activity of the Lord is narrated, it constantly, the devotees are always relishing. Because the activities of the Lord are not on the mundane platform. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, Kunkunti, he explains. In our prayers, Kunkunti said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 8, text number 26, Kunkunti is praying, is saying to the Lord, he said, my dear Lord, Jamaswas Riasruta Sribihi Ida mana ada pumaham narva alti abida tum bahai. Tuan akinchana go charam. That my dear Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feelings. This is the limitations of the living entities in the material world. Everyone in the material world is looking for these things. And Kunkunti is explaining here. As long as one has affinity for these things, as long as one has these things, no one cannot understand nor approach or be attracted to the Supreme Personality of God. Naturally, when one has a good birth in a good family, it becomes puffed up. In such a state, it cannot. But that is not to say that good birth is not it's not appreciated, it's not wanted. But on the material level, and that is why you see that when one is born in a very affluent family, he never wants to. He's not attracted to the activities of the Lord. When one is too much materialistically educated, it becomes an impediment. When you look at the atrocities going on in the material world, the 99.9% of the atrocities, that the violence, the crisis, the difficult situation that's going on in the world are perpetrated by those who are so-called knowledgeable. When you look at the wars going on in the world, as the world was celebrating New Year, Russia was busy sending nuclear weapons to Ukraine. Can somebody who is unmaterially educated engage in such activity? It's not possible. And that is why it is said that material education is a shadow knowledge. It is not real knowledge. That knowledge that does not depict, that does not express, that does not understand the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is shadow knowledge, reflection of knowledge. It is not knowledge. Such knowledge drags one away from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Scientists who study science so elaborately are never attracted to the Supreme God. But one who actually becomes more deeper in scientific knowledge, it becomes a devotee of the Lord. Because knowledge, real knowledge, Lord Krishna gives the difference between material knowledge and spiritual knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 5, text number 18, Lord Krishna, he told Arjuna, what is knowledge? As different from the material knowledge. Vidya Vinaya Sampani, Brahmani Gavi asked him, Sunichaiva Swa Pakecha Pandita Samadakshina. This is someone who has real knowledge. A Brahmana. Because he has knowledge. He can distinguish between matter and spirit. And that is what Leo Tolstoy was saying in his quotation, that the essence of any religion lies solely in the answer to the question, why do I exist? Only one who has gotten deeper understanding of knowledge can express that kind of a question. So in the purport to the text number 41, Srila Prabhupada explained that the omnipotent personality of God has three primary potencies, namely internal, external, and marginal potencies, which with unlimited expansions of these three energies. As such, the expansion of these potencies can never be calculated by anyone, because even the personality of God himself, as the incarnation of Shesha, cannot estimate it. The Supreme Personality of God is so unlimitedly unlimited that as one tries to understand it, he expands his opulence. His opulence is so deep and high that no material intelligence can understand it. So in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavad, the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that there are three things brings one to this understanding of the Supreme Personality of God. That devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things other than God or Krishna. So these three will occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. So for one who has taken shelter of the devotion service, the understanding of the Supreme Personality of God becomes manifest in his heart. And that can easily be achieved. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Machita Sarva.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. It seems there is a little bit of a hitch from our speaker's end. So we'll see if he will get back. Okay. And thank you for your patience.
Gojumenitananda Mahajan Nadia Gojumenitananda Mahajan Hatya Chinam Hate Jiberakaran Hatya Chinam Hate Jiberakaran Shradhavan jan hai, Shradhavan jan hai, Shradhavan jan hai, Shradhavan jan hai, Prabhu aagai bai magiye bhikha, Prabhu aagai bai magiye bhikha. Bhajo Krishna Koro Krishna Shika Bolo Krishna Bhajo Krishna Koro Krishna Shika Aparara Shunna Hoy Loho Krishna Nam Aparara Shunna Hoy Loho Krishna Nam Krishna Mato Krishna Pito Krishna Dana Pran Krishna Mato Krishna Pito Krishna Dana Pran Krishna Samsara Goro Charyana Cham Krishna Samsara Goro Charyana Cham Vivedoya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharmasha
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare
This is nature of material world.
Yeah, so you may continue, please.
Thank you. So, sorry for that interruption. This is a network challenge. So I was explaining that which is very difficult, which is almost incomprehensible, becomes comprehensible by association with the devotees of the Lord. By associating with those who are engaged in the activities of pleasing the Lord, who are serving the Lord, one develops the taste for devotion and service. And that which is very, very incomprehensible by material calculation becomes possible by the grace of the Lord. By one engaging in such activities of devotional service, simply by the process of chanting, hearing, devotional service to the Supreme Personality of God is manifested in the heart, and loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality of God is established in the heart. Nasta prayesu abadreshu, nityam bhagavatam seva, bhagavati vitamansluk, bhagavati naistiki. That by this regular attendance in Srimad Bhagavatam, and by regular service to the pure devotees, all the coverings that are very difficult to overcome, the coverings of material nature, is dissipated, and loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is established in the heart. And when that happens, that which is very difficult, almost impossible to comprehend, becomes comprehensible. And one can understand his personality. And one can come to that level of La Brahma, where he's explaining here. So actually we've done, so I'll stop here. And then I'll open up for question and answer so that we can explain, share more on this topic. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. It's great, SALIKA PRABHU, for speaking. And to most of us who might not know about this, SALIKA PRABHU was not the originally scheduled speaker for today. But because we live in this material world and we are surrounded by so many eventualities and not knowing what the future holds, the speaker couldn't be here today. So he had to just step in, as he's always been doing quite frequently. So, SALIKA PRABHU, we thank you so much for stepping in to speak. And it was very beautiful. You touched on so many important things that I personally have some questions, and I believe other devotees may have questions also. So, dear devotees, anyone who may have a question, comment, realizations you would want to share, please, you may unmute and you go ahead and speak. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
If I may go, first, my first question is, we are told as devotees that God assumes different forms, and whichever form he assumes is the same God. Nothing changes.
Absolutely.
And God assumed a form called Anantasesha,
Yeah.
was like snake with so many heads. Now, Lord Brahma is telling us that this same God cannot even understand God. In other words, God does not understand himself. In the Islamic teachings, one of the reverences they have for God is that God is the most beneficent and he is all-knowing. So if God is all-knowing, how come that God does not know himself to understand himself as Sesha? And if he does not understand himself, how is he God? Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Sadi, for a beautiful question. As mentioned in the purport, to the second verse we read today, text number 41, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is manifested in his three energies: the internal energy, the external energy, and the marginal energy. And in those energies of the Lord manifests at different degree. When you tell someone, just like you are saying in other traditions, that he is God, he wonders, how can I be God? This is blasphemy. Actually, sometimes, depending on the fora, I try to create that confusion sometimes to ignite questions. There are some lectures I go and I said, who can tell me who God is? And when everybody has gone around, I'll say, but you sitting in front of me is God. And they say, oh no, blasphemy, you cannot say that. And I refer them to the Bible. In the book of Psalms, it is mentioned, 84:4, that ye are gods, ye are God. So why is it said that we cannot understand God if we are God, if ourselves are God? So there is a difference. God manifests himself at different levels. So as marginal energy, the answers, the minute fragment of him, the soul, his potency of godliness is at a degree or level that is not absolute. Although God, it is said, Om Punam Ada Punam, Punam Punam Udashati, Punam Punam. God is perfect, and every emanation coming from him is perfect, but that same perfection has a degree. Why is the living entity called marginal? It is called marginal because although he is part of that supreme manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is minute. So in the same way, when God manifests himself at the level of the Purusha avatars, or the manifestation as an incarnation of himself, is full opulence is not manifested. Just like he himself is not different from the living entities as a conditioned soul, who are fragmented part and parcel of him. So his plenary portions, as explained by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Goswami, although they are not different from him, but their quality is not 100%. And that is why Sukadev Goswami told us that Vedanta, that those who are knowledge, those who have come to the level of absolute realization, they understand God in multiple levels as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the Paramatma, and is the various manifestation. So Krishna, Eten Shamsam Kalam Pumsha, Krishna's too, Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the supreme complete personality of Godhead. And although all the plenary expansions of him are himself, but they are not complete in his opulence because he is the origin of everything. The Brahma explains that Ishwara Parama Krishna Sakchidananda Vigraha Anadi Adi Govidam Sarvakaranam Karanam. Although these manifestations are of himself, but they are plenary portion of himself. So therefore, and that is why Lord Brahma is explaining in the text we are reading, that when we look at the text number 40 of the verse we are reading today, he said that okay, it's text number 41, sorry. So he says that even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Shesha, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge, although it's describing the qualities, although it is manifesting from it, but it is not. Let me give a material example. Lord Brahma, thank you very much. Thank you. He said, the expansion of his potency can never be calculated by anyone because even the personality of God himself, as the incarnation of Shesha, cannot estimate the potencies, although he has been describing them continuously with his 1,000 faces. So the language used in the Bhagavatam is that the plenary portion and portion of the Supreme Personality of God, these expansions of the Lord are part of the Lord. And although they are in the category of Vishnu Tattva, but they are not complete in the 6 opulences of the Supreme Personality of God. In Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami, when he's describing, can I remember the chapter? In the Srila Rupa Goswami explains when he was describing the qualities of the body, was describing the quality of the Supreme Personality of God. Let me see if I can get that verse. Nectar of Devotion, just a second. In the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami was giving us explanation of the qualities of Godhead, and he explains the 54 qualities of Krishna that makes him the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the other incarnation or expansions of him, as some of these qualifications, 60 qualities of Godhead. There are some expansions of Krishna that are 55 qualities of Brahman, but the Vishnu Tattvas has 60 qualities of Godhead, but they do not possess that 64 qualities that makes Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they are part of him. They are not him completely. So even those parts cannot completely explain the personality of Godhead. I'm trying to open the nectar of devotion. Rupa Goswami explains that very nicely somewhere. Yeah, chapter 20, qualities of Krishna. So Srila Rupa Goswami is explaining that there are 64 qualities of I will share my screen. Chapter 20. So it is yes, this is Rupa Goswami said. The personal features can be divided into one feature, into two. Sorry. One feature is covered and the other features is manifested. When Krishna is covered by different kinds of dresses, his personal feature is covered. There is an example of his covered personal feature in Srimad Bhagavatam in connection with his Dwaraka Lila, his residence in Dwaraka and his king. Sometimes Lord Krishna began to play by dressing himself like woman, seeing this form. Uddhava said, how wonderful it is that this woman is attracting my ecstatic love exactly as Lord Krishna does. I think she must be Krishna covered by the dress of a woman. So when Krishna covers himself, when he covers his manifestation, that manifestation of him, just like Adanta Shesha that is described here, is Krishna, but is covered. So it's not manifesting the full potency, the full uncovered nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, his full manifestation is not exhibited, it's not manifested. So it becomes difficult to even comprehend himself. I hope this helps.
Yes, it does. It does. I would say to some extent, in the sense that we go to school and we study something like medicine because we know that by studying this medicine, we will understand the concept and we can become medical doctors. But if it is told from the very beginning that you cannot understand this, then what is the use trying to struggle to go to school? So if Krishna cannot be understood, then why are we struggling so hard to try to understand him? And some people may say, don't understand him, just serve him. How do you serve somebody without understanding who he is? So that is a problem I think lots of us may have. But the explanation you gave to my earlier question, I think it's well enough. It's very understandable.
So that is why this verse I quoted in the course of the discussion, 11 Cantos, chapter 2, text number 42, it says that, let me share the screen of that verse. In the course of the, sorry. I opened that verse somewhere. Okay, this is it. Screen, come in.
What is the verse?
11:242.
Okay, let me put it up.
Okay, I think I got it now. Yeah, this is the verse. It says, Bhakti Parisambhavo Virakti Anyatra Chaisatrika Ikakala Prapadya manasya yatasna asyo tusti pushti sud apayono gaaso. It says that devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things, these three things occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the same way that pleasure, nourishment, and relief from hunger come simultaneously and increasingly with each bite for a person engaged in eating. So what is said in this verse is that, and let me read the first 10 sentences. Prabhupada said, Jiva Goswami has explained that this analogy as follows: a bhakti or devotion may be compared to tushti, satisfaction, because they both take the form of pleasure, bhava, experience of the Supreme Lord, and pushti, nourishment, are analogous because both sustains one's life finally. Virukti, a detachment, and shuk, a payas, cessation of hunger, may be compared because both free one from further anchoring so that one may experience santi or peace. So what is explained here is that it is not just philosophical, it is scientific that when one eats food, there is nourishment, there is satisfaction by the process of eating. In the same way, this process of bhakti is not some mental speculation. By engaging in devotional service, by engaging in this process of that devotional service, nourishment, satisfaction is derived naturally. It is not some dry speculation, and that is what Lord Krishna told Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text number 2. Can we open the verse? Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, King of Knowledge. Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Raja Vidya Raja Guryam, Pavitra Midam Uttamam, Pratyak Savagamam Damyam, Susukam Katum Avyayam, that this knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization. This is what bhakti is. Because bhakti is not some mental, dry, speculative knowledge or process. By engaging in this process of bhakti, it gives self-perception of the self by realization. So therefore, it is called the perfection of religion, and it is everlasting, it is joyfully performed. So this is the nature of bhakti. So bhakti is not just some speculative mental gymnastic that is given, that has no bearing. And that is what that verse in the 11th canto is explaining, that by engaging in the devotional service, one experiences the result. It is not, there's a word in my language, they said oromila, that is, and we often use that language as also that we all know who God is when we get there. We should not worry, just like you said, we should not worry, and when we get to the kingdom of God, we know who is who. But that is not the process of devotional service. Devotional service can be experienced right here, by direct experience, by engaging in this process of chanting the holy name. Somebody was asking, this same similar question was asked several years back. I was in Sankirtan in a power of Lagos. So I sold the Bhagavad Gita to one Igbo child, and then he read that portion of the chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita in the purport, where Prabhupada was saying that no one can understand this process unless a devotee. So the following day, when I came to Tinkan Island and I was dismissed, he said, I've been waiting for you since morning. I said, what happened? Did you read the book? He said, yes, I started reading the book. And the very first page I read, it reads that no one can understand this knowledge unless a devotee. And I'm not your devotee, so definitely this book is useless for me. So I busted the laughter. And I was laughing. I said, yes. I said, devotee is not a rubber stamping thing. Each and every one is a devotee of God. We are all devotees of God because Krishna says, that we are all his fragmental part and parcel. You are part and parcel of me. And because we are part and parcel of him, we are all his devotee. But some of us have forgotten. Some of us have remembered. Some of us have realized it. Because there is a difference between forgetting and remembering. When we remember, we still have to realize that level of remembrance. When we remember that we are spirit soul, part and parcel of God, we still have to experience it by realization. And that is what Krishna is telling Arjuna in that chapter 9. So I said, you are a devotee, I'm a devotee. Devotee is not a rubber stamp. A devotee is not a Hare Krishna member or a member of a church or a member of a mosque. A devotee of the Lord is whoever has developed attraction for the service to the Supreme Personality, or who has come to the constitutional nature of his existence, who has come to the platform, just like we explained from the beginning of the lecture. The one who has come to that platform of the soul level, he has risen from the bodily concept of life, graduated to the mental state of life, come to the art state of life, or existence, and he has been, by gift of good fortune, he has come to this level of his soul, of realizing the self, that Aham Brahmasmi. Such a person is what? That's a person is characterized as a devotee of highest grade. And then at that level, you can perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not a speculative mental thing. And then even a scientist, such like Albert Einstein, like I quoted earlier on, it was explained, it was given from his realization. He says science without religion is lame, and religion without science is blind. Because this process is scientific. So when a scientist, and Prabhupada was explaining in the purport of the test number 40, material scientists, they cannot comprehend God because they have not come to the spiritual platform of science. Material science is meant to take us to the spiritual level of scientific realization. So science is what? Science is examination, observation, and experience. It's just 3 steps. So this process also is scientific. This process of Krishna consciousness is scientific. I told somebody several years back, and then I was still running a bhakta. Why was I able to confidently tell him that? He came to me, he was a doctor, and he was asking me. He said, so, but you are telling me that I should take to this process. He said, so if I take to this your process and I didn't get the result? I said, I tell you, I boldly beat my chest from the Bhagavad Gita class. And I was telling him, I said, if you consciously chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for 6 months and you don't get a transformation in your life, I said, I can sign a bond for you. Take my life. And everybody in the class was looking at me, and I didn't know even why I said that myself, because that was very long years, over 25 years ago. But because why? Because by my experience of chanting the holy name of the Lord, I could feel some experience. Although I may not have realized at the platform of pure devotional service, but I can feel some difference. Transformation is there. So devotional service manifests transformation. It's not a dry speculative endeavor that does not give a direct perception of experience. Devotional service is from the right beginning of it, and that is why Srila Rupa Goswami mentioned in Nectar of Devotion. He said there are 5 characteristics of devotional service. And one of the first characteristics is that when you start chanting, immediately happiness manifests in your heart. That is what Srila Rupa Goswami said in the first chapter of the Nectar of Devotion. Characteristics of devotional service is that when you chant the holy name, not just chanting the vowels, because most often times when people say they are chanting Hare Krishna, devotees sometimes they say, well, we are chanting for 10 years, 15 years, we are not experiencing Krishna. You can never experience Krishna because Krishna is not a businessman. Krishna is a lover, and he reciprocates with loving reciprocation of chanting of his holy names. And a good example is given. When we go, most of us have had an experience. We have gone to the market, and in the marketplace, different kinds of persons are calling. Please come, Mister, come and buy. We don't listen to them. We don't answer them. Why? Because we know that they want to take something from us. They have no interest in us. They have no attraction for who we are. They don't care what it becomes of us. They are only interested in what they want to get from us. So they are calling us. We don't listen to them. But if our if our wife or our child in the house calls us, immediately we look at that place. Why? Because we know that there is a relationship. So unless there is a relationship with Krishna, the chanting of the holy name is just chanting of words. But Krishna is so magnanimous, he's so merciful that even inattentive chanting of his holy name. And that's why he said in the 728 of Bhagavad Gita, Yesham tu anta gata papam, genamam punya karma. So even Krishna's name, even when we chant it inattentively, it gives some benefit, but it will not give the seed of bhakti. It will give some punya. So it is said that the only name is Chintamani. So it gives. So when we will not get Krishna, we'll get Krishna's energy. Krishna will manifest himself. And that is why it is said in chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita that when one study process of yoga, and he has practiced up to some extent of level of advancement, but he could not conclude, he could not come to the platform of purity. In his next birth, he will continue, but what he will get is what? Punya Karamana, which Kunti Devi, as we quoted in the verse, first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he will get what Kunti Devi is talking about. And sometimes these things become impediment. Good birth, not material knowledge, beauty, material beauty, all of these things becomes an impediment. They become a gate, and with a strong lock, double lock, from entering into the realm of bhakti. But bhakti is completely free from what? From Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Kamya Ataiva Santa Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakaliya Santa. The pure devotional service is completely free from all of this. So when we chant the holy name sincerely, Krishna manifests in the tongue of his devotee who is sincerely chanting his holy name, and he manifests himself before him. Someone says that, can we see Krishna? Yes, we can see him. But do you have the qualification of chanting to attract the physical form of the Krishna manifesting before us? So yes, Krishna consciousness, bhakti, is not speculative. It's not a dry mental speculation. It is scientific. It's a science, but a spiritual science. Because like we say, science is just 3 stages. Examination, sorry, observation and experience. So when we try the chanting of the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, in the association of devotees, then what happens? Devotion manifests in the heart. It is amazing, unbelievable that this platform is given freely. Everyone is lamenting. We want Krishna. But here, Krishna has manifested himself in the form of Bhagavatam, and we have the opportunity, a daily opportunity to associate with Krishna. But unfortunately, like Loshita Mahaprabhu said, no one comes here. When we look at the Hare Krishna Africa platform, there are over almost 300 and something names are there. But every other day, we see 16, 15. Why is it that? That is their expression of chanting the holy name of the Lord. One is attracted to the holy name of the Lord, to the recitation of the holy name, to the pastimes of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada said, even I read my books, but we're not attracted. We are unfortunate because we are not attracted. Although Krishna has manifested himself in the form of Bhagavatam, he has come here and is giving us opportunity to directly associate with him, but we are not interested. In West Africa, the other day, one sannyasi came and was saying, how many of you are from Africa? Because they are very desirous. They want to see African devotees. And this platform is Hare Krishna Africa. And how many African devotees are here? So sometimes someone asks, so all these stories we have had, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. In West Africa alone, we have 4 gurus, 4. And none of them has less than 100 devotees. How many people, how many of their disciples are here? They are busy doing some other things. Why? because they have no attraction. Their attraction is for some other things. She like Govinda Maharaj said, one who does not hear Bhagavatam daily is a dead person. Although he's living in a human body, but he's dead. So this Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing daily, is a direct realization. One who earnestly, attentively, sincerely hear this Srimad Bhagavatam will feel a pinch of bhakti in his heart. It is not speculative. Hare Krishna.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you for the fiery Bhagavatam Katha. I think we've spent around 90 minutes. If we were to be playing soccer, the game might be over by now. But I don't know if some devotees would like to share something. Please, you may do so before we bring this to a close. I had spoken some time ago in a similar tune as you just spoke, Salika Prabhu, about the daily attendance of Bhagavatam. And I was reminded that, for example, I am in the States here. My access to the internet is different from lots of devotees in West Africa. So access to internet is not as easily available to lots of the devotees as it is in other parts of the world. So that is one of the reasons I was given, and I accepted that. So we assume that many devotees are unable to attend. We are just happy that we still are able to come.
Rupa Goswami said, sorry to cut you inside, Prabhu.
Okay.
Saivam Pumcham Paroda Mo Yato Bhakti Adok Saja. Ahatukia Pratiatas, Yayatma Suprasidati. Devotional service has no impediment. It's all material conditioning excuses. How many of these devotees does not buy data on a daily basis to watch TikTok, to watch Premier League? On this same platform, Hare Krishna Pifka platform, one time His Grace, Jnana Shakti Prabhu said, I will give data to one who come for 5 days. I will pay his data. What he was offering was enough to offer somebody data for 1 month. But he said, if you just come for 5 days in a week, I will give you a data for this amount. Do they come? His excuses. A diseased man, no matter how you make him, Prabhupada give an example of a jaundice man. Sugar is very sweet. But to the man who is suffering from jaundice, it's very bitter. It is conditioning of material life that gives all of these excuses. There is no reason, there's no excuse. It's like Gurudev. But Maharaj said, we always have 1,001 reasons for not doing what we can do. But for what we want to do, there are several thousands of one-on-one reasons for us to do it. How many of us says that because poverty is so high in West Africa, we don't eat in a day? Prabhupada, I'm not in the philosophy, in the school of those who says that anyone who says that let him come, let me challenge him by practical experience. How much is his daily income? How much does he spend on data in a month? How much data would he spend on daily Bhagavatam class? It's an excuse. It's a manifestation of his disease conditioning. It's not an excuse that is tenable before any reasonable, intelligent person. An intelligent person knows that it's just a mere excuses for not coming to Bhagavatam as a West African devotee. It's just an excuse. No tangible reasons behind it, more than just excuses. Well, if they don't have at all, why don't they take the opportunity of receiving from somebody who is voluntarily wanting to serve? Just giving excuses, probably.
Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you. So, I mean, you are in that location at the moment, so you may have better understanding than I do. But we will also respectfully honor whatever excuse whatever individual may give as to why they are unable to attend Bhagavatam regularly. But we just hope and pray that whatever we do, whatever we say, is out of sincerity. If we can, we should do it. If we cannot, then we cannot. Krishna knows. That is the nature of Krishna. Krishna is not an intimidating God. So if we can do it, he knows. If we cannot do it, he knows. So I will end it there. And thank you so much, His Grace SALIKA Prabhu. Anadi Nirana Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Yeah, I wish Prabhu Dandavat pronounce.
Anandini Danam, in my local language here, you'll be called Angu. You know what the meaning of Angu is?
Sade Prabhu, this thing, Salika Prabhu just said is what I want to say something in regards.
Okay.
Talking about the number of West African devotees, you rightly said it, but he is trying to dispute that. But as a matter of fact, the time to, you see, some of the devotees, as we are on this platform, some are even on the field distributing book, some on the field preaching. So is it not the same thing that they were doing? That we should look at that aspect also, that to say that they engage in something else, whereas they are supposed to be here. Or what do we say about that too?
Okay, Anandini Danam Prabhu.
Because
Thank you very
talk
much
our
for
typical example about Pavitra Prabhu, always he's in the field distributing. So it's very difficult for such a person to be on this platform. And likewise, some other devotees, as we are speaking or talking here, they are also somewhere doing devotional service. So they are also contributing to Prabhupada movement, that I must say. So we should look at that also. That's my little contribution. Hare Krishna.
Haribo. Thank you very much, Anandini Danam Prabhu. Let me ask you a question to answer your question, like a typical Nigerian. How many devotees are there in Accra, Ghana, where you're based? How many devotees are there? Average, if you know it exactly. And I didn't done Prabhu. Are you there?
The network was breaking, so I was not hearing you. You were saying?
I said, what is the average number of devotees in Accra alone, Accra Temple, where you are?
Where I cannot count, we are many.
Yes, average. Give me an average.
Oh, more than 200.
Thank you. So out of 200, how many persons in the Mangalati announces Sankirtan report? You have mentioned Pavitra. So how many devotees in Accra goes to Sankirtan and make announcement of Sankirtan report in the Mangalati in the morning? How many?
Well, only in a few, but some are doing it personally that I know. Even me myself, I don't announce such things as you, because I used to buy the books myself, distribute it. I don't account for anybody. So equally, I'm looking at some other devotees who are doing that also. You. So that is the angle I'm coming from, that we should look at also.
Thank you for your angle of seeing things. I do appreciate you, but I just wanted to make you understand that out of 200 in your yatra alone, in Ghana, we have, I think, about 8 or 9 temples. So if we put all together, we can say averagely, we have about 600 devotees to be on the average in the whole of Ghana. And then out of the 600 devotees, let us assume that some of them are working class devotees. Some of them are going on Harinam Sankirtan. So what you are trying to say is that out of the 600 devotees, just 60 out of them, 10%, cannot squeeze time to attend Bhagavatam daily. There is no excuse. The numbers that we have here and the numbers of devotees across the region, you cannot defend it. But it's not an imposition. Krishna consciousness is not an imposition, but we're just making it explicit that Krishna is giving equal opportunity to everyone, just like yourself. Sometimes you are at work, sometimes you are on the road, but you join this platform every other day. Not because you are so convenient, but because you have developed affinity, you have developed attraction for the hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So what we are saying is that we're calling for that same attraction from the mind of the devotees, which is a manifestation or reflection of how much they are attracted to hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is natural that, yes, not everybody will be here at the same time because everybody will be doing some other person will be doing some other service at some different times. But there is no justification out of 600 in Ghana. And when you put the whole of West Africa together, let us put it at average that 1,500 devotees, that you cannot have 50 devotees on a daily basis out of 1,500. There is no justification. But it is not an imposition. We are only expressing the level of our attraction. And people wonder, why are things not developing? Why are things not growing? Because of the level of our contribution to devotional service. Krishna reciprocates. According to our service, our inclination, Krishna reciprocates accordingly. That is what we're talking about. But thank you very much for your perception and the excuses for some of the devotees who are engaged in other activities. But there is no justification looking at the numbers of devotees in the region and the number of those who attend this platform. Unless there is another serious reason which I don't know of.
Oh, anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dear devotees, if no one has anything else to share or ask, then we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute. And we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to His grace. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama Hare
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Chantarudhyascha Kripa
Basha, Kripa, Sindhya, Chakapitalam,
Patitanam
Pavanam,
Pavanebhyo
Namo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namaha.
Namo Antakoti Vaishnava Vinde ki Jai.
Radhe Radhe.
Hare Hare Sha.